Hey guys, what's going on? We're back. We're live. It's here. It's Wednesday, and Marvel's second biggest opening of all time just happened. Black Panther hit theaters, and it was crazy. We can't freaking wait to talk to you guys about it. This movie was amazing. We'll see you in just 1 second to break the whole thing down. Wakanda forever.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Action Movie Anatomy.
One of the movies this song could actually have been in.
Yeah, this could have been totally.
This should have been Michael B. Jordan's music every time it came.
Every time they came on screen. What's up, everybody? We're back. We're live. We're here. We're talking Black Panther. My goodness, it's been a long time.
It's been so long.
You guys got the real bait and switch you guys thought because we were fools and forgot to inform the studio that runs the show that we were actually doing a live episode this week.
Yeah, this last week was one of those weeks where you and I, we feel like we've really got a grasp on our lives.
Yeah.
That's the lie. We don't actually feel that. Sometimes we pretend that we do, and this last week was one of those weeks where it was like, no, you don't. Remember, there's a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, I landed this morning from New York at 2 a.m.
Yeah, and you've got a premiere tonight at game night. You're doing the show. You're doing so much more than I am today.
Yeah.
Today's kind of one of my chill days.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I needed it. I really needed it. Guys, hello. Welcome to Action Movie Anatomy. I'm so excited to talk about Black Panther. This movie was excellent. It was
great.
amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. I got to see this. I saw this in New York on Thursday of last week, probably. I think, and it was great. I totally enjoyed it. I loved it. I published a review of it somewhere that, geez, do I get to announce that now? I guess I do.
You should announce it, man. I mean, they're not watching.
Yeah, we're supposed to announce this tomorrow.
Ben's the new host of The Bachelor.
Yeah.
He's not.
I'm supposed to announce this tomorrow, but, you know, you guys are the loyal, the diehards. You've been here for a long time, so I'll tell you. Some of you probably remember that I used to do a show on Anchor.fm.
Fist Pump Film Club.
Yeah.
People talk about it all the time in the channel. People miss it like crazy.
Yeah, it was really fun, and I did it for a few months, and I also was doing a Magic the Gathering show on there. Well, Anchor is rolling out a big announcement soon, and I won't break all their news because that's their business, but in the announcement is going to be launching a new station, and that station is going to be called Nerds in Suits Movies, hosted by yours truly, and I will be reviewing every movie as press every week. So the trial run movies I've been attending screenings for recently have gone up, and they're kind of available now. I reviewed 1517 to Paris. That was a treat.
I heard that was just horrible from everybody.
Yeah, Black Panther, Peter Rabbit. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
I got Game Night and Annihilation coming out this week. So you guys, if I'll definitely do a much bigger, widespread announcement of it next week. But that's something to look forward to. Is I'm gonna have a brand new thing. I'll be doing content every single day. It'll be available as a podcast.
He gets to get paid to critique movies.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to see everything.
Thank you, Marissa. Marissa Serafini in the booth.
Thanks,
Congratulations,
Marissa.
man. I mean, this is one of those things. You and I have been doing this show for almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
April, I think, is 3 years, or May. And we've talked about it since day one. What do we love to do? We love to talk about movies with people that we love.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Yeah, it'll be news and reviews every week. So the way to find that is to go download the app, Anchor.fm. The station does exist, but it's like a secret station right now because it hasn't been announced. So it's called Nerds in Suits, and that'll kind of expand into some other stuff. I'll talk about a little bit more of that later. But
all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. That's our show today. And
but the thing is, I reviewed Black Panther as one of the movies, so you can hear my Black Panther review there, and that's what's going on. So we're here to talk action movies. It's Action Movie Anatomy on the Popcorn Talk Network, the only network online talking movies, all things movie related, and pop culture by the bucketful. And on this show in particular, we break down action movies that adhere to 4 basic rules. Rule number 1, the hero always plays by their own rules.
It's always tough in movies like this. Like anytime where you have someone who's forced into a position of power when they're not ready, Simba, T'Challa, whatever it might be.
This is the Lion King.
This is the Lion King, actually. It is. But they kind of have to play by the rules of the world that surrounds them.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I think he tries to play by his own rules, but really at the end of the day, it's the rules of Wakanda.
Yes, the Wakandan way. I'm gonna try the hardest that I can to
alliterate
not
everything?
do a Wakandan impression this whole
Because
show.
you can't. Because you're white. I'm
I'm
gonna do it.
so
I'm gonna do it
tempted.
the whole show.
I'm really gonna try to not do it. Flash forward 90 seconds.
The whole show.
Rule number 2: the hero and the villain are always the smartest people, beings, things, dinosaurs, what have you in the room. Look, Killmonger went to MIT.
Yeah,
Okay?
Killmonger is definitely the smartest. I mean, he figured out where Wakanda was. He figured out their language based off
good
of a
at math.
book. He's
Yeah.
he's killed a lot of people.
He's got sweet hair.
I mean, he's definitely the smartest person in the movie.
Yeah,
I think.
he's got skin like an amphibian.
And then he really does.
He's got
The
weird
amount of
looking skin.
scars that
Yeah.
he gave himself would be horribly painful.
Yeah, right.
Is T'Challa, is the king, is the Black Panther the smartest
He
person in the
kind
room?
of gets his ass kicked at the beginning.
And in the middle.
Yeah, it's true. Is he the smartest guy in the room? No. Well,
No.
yeah, okay. He's the smartest guy in the room. All of his women are smarter.
That is a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's make no mistake about it, guys. The women are the best part
The
of this
women
movie.
of Wakanda are
Far
the
and away.
best part of the film.
and it's not even close.
They're more they have more movie star charisma, they're more charming, they're more endearing, they're more badass, they're more everything.
yeah,
have to
Chazak.
agree.
What?
I have to agree.
Absolutely. Which is why we're going to do a segment on the show today called The Women of Wakanda.
Kazakh Bosman, Dagnino special. he's
I was like, what are you saying?
he's great, but the movie is stolen from him by all of the women in the movie. And we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Rule number 3: the movie is driven by a police, military, political, mercenary figure. He's none of those
I had
things.
no idea
Well,
what you were saying till just now.
What?
Is that when Dagnino tried to spell Chadwick Boseman?
Oh,
is what you're talking
in
about?
a match versus versus Nost, he's they ask who played Jackie Robinson in 42, and he holds up a sheet and it says Kazakh Bosman with an S, and he challenges that he should get it right. And so then after, because it was such a thing, he made a T-shirt that said Kazakh Bosman and started wearing it around. It's one of my favorites.
Is amazing.
Yeah.
What did you say?
He is political because but he's not.
He's the king of Wakanda.
That's not political though. That's like.
But he at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. That's
We're
fair.
fighting really hard for this
And
one.
rule number 4: the movie contains a minimum of 1 explosion.
There's always explosion in Marvel movies.
Yeah, right. There's got to be.
I mean, they even show the explosion in the beginning of Claw killing his dad.
Oh yeah,
Again.
right. Claw.
Spoiler alert of Civil War.
So that's the rules of the show here, guys. We're gonna get fully into it. Coming up today on the show, we are gonna be talking about the women of Wakanda. Possibly, if we have time to get to it, we're gonna be talking about a couple directors that we think should be working with in the MCU. And finally, It's a Bad World. Movies that had villains that outshone their heroes. We're also gonna answer some of your questions. And before we get into watching the trailer here, Andrew, where can the folks find you if they want to follow along with you?
Guys, you can find me at Andrew Ghai on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find the podcast at AMA Podcast on Twitter.
And you also can find there's a Facebook group for both Action Army, that's our Schmodown personas, which is getting closer and closer. It is. And then also Action Movie Academy fan page, which was started by loyal fans of the show. And this last week, for some reason, has seen like a small uptick. I'm not really sure why or what happened, but in the last couple days, we had almost 40 new members. So
Yeah, and there's also the last thing we're going to plug is our Team Action Patreon. That's
yeah.
patreon.com/Team Action. We're halfway to our goal, which would mean bringing you 2 videos a week, which, God, we're going to have to figure out how to do that if we get there.
we got new mics in the mail.
We got new mics in the mail. Andrew Hayes is a new general. Paul DeNuzzo is going to resubscribe or redonate his $50, I believe, based off
do
our
another
conversation
movie
yesterday. I think he wants another movie. I was actually not able to read his message yet.
Okay,
but there's something else coming.
We got some top 5 lists that got sent in. In fact, there'll be a new episode coming out in the next 48 hours of us breaking down 2 top 5 lists, one of which is going to be top 5 movie composers.
Which is from Richard Eric Jarvie, movie soundtracks.
Movie soundtracks from Richard Eric Jarvie. And then the other one was top 5 David Fincher films from Arena.
Arena, yeah. And it's a great episode. You and I love Fincher. Also, on that last match, the Fincher questions, crushed it.
Oh, yeah. Wait, Fincher questions?
Yeah.
There was a Fincher cut?
I believe it was the JTE match. Or no, the match that went up last Friday. Sneider.
Ellis and...
Ellis and... Yeah. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Way off track. So,
All right,
those are all the things. Let's get into the episode. Let's check out the trailer first, and then we'll, thesis statement.
Awesome trailer.
Yeah.
Awesome trailers.
I've seen gods fly. I've seen
Yeah, this
men
trailer is
build
sweet.
weapons
This is the Solo
I
trailer.
couldn't even imagine.
It's on a ship.
I've seen aliens drop from the sky.
Yeah.
But I have
This is the whole thing. It's like the revolution will not be televised.
How
Yeah.
much more are you hiding?
It's a good trailer.
Let's go.
It is your time.
Rhinos.
You get to decide what kind of king you are going to be. Don't freeze.
I never freeze.
But you wish you could do that accent.
Yeah, he's pretty great.
He crushes it. Like his, yeah.
You're just really tan.
And bow down. We own ya. We own ya. We only getting started now. Cause we own ya. It's not a thing they know me now. Cause we own ya. You and I'm a homie. Cause we own ya.
I waited my entire life for this. The world's gonna start over. I'ma burn it all.
Michael B. Jordan's outfit in the museum is the definition of swagger. Yeah.
Determines what happens
That was pretty
to
sweet.
the rest of the world.
He's like super, super yoked.
Dude, he's massive. Yeah, MBJ. Yeah.
Be able to stay home, brother.
He's like one of these guys. Yeah.
The revolution will not be televised.
It's so interesting because like you wonder how that plays into his body for Creed 2. Right? I wonder if he had to get way bigger to win in Creed 2. That could make sense.
We'll be live.
So sick. All right, 2 points I want to make really quickly. One,
Great trailer.
the first 30 minutes of this film is underlit.
Oh, really? It's dark?
I really just thought that like the fighting in the jungle and the chase through Busan was
Yeah.
really underlit. Because
Busan, that's the South Korea part?
yeah, because I get that you want it to look dark because he's the Black
yeah, yeah.
Panther. You want it to be like hard to see, but there's
Yeah.
ways to do that like they did in The Dark Knight.
Right, yeah, I agree. It was,
Where
it was
I-
difficult to see him a little
I
bit.
missed a lot of the really sweet action in the first parts, and those were my favorite action parts because it's like Black Panther doing Black Panther.
How far do you think into the movie it was before the chase in Korea happened?
35?
35 minutes? That's about what I figured.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's like the first major explosive action set piece.
Yeah, I mean that took like 2 months to film, I
Yeah.
think, or something. It was
Yeah, right.
awesome, super awesome. I noticed that you and I, so you've got the MBJ colors on. You've got the black with a little bit of gold,
Yeah, right.
and I've got the black with the purple.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so you know,
So I'm trying to ruin the world.
and I'm trying to save it.
Yeah, there you go. So that's the trailer for Black Panther.
Super sweet. Music's
It's
awesome.
a great trailer.
Yeah.
And they like
It makes you feel cool just watching it.
It does. It's really sweet that they got Ryan Coogler to do that movie. It's just like it just feels so different than any. Well, in fact, let's get into our bits because I think this will be interesting. So the next part of the show, guys, is thesis statement. If you are watching for the first time, listening for the first time, this is where you share your biggest, boldest thought about the movie, something that absolutely defines your opinion about the film, and you would defend this, throughout the whole episode. If you meet somebody at a party, this is kind of the point you would make. And my thesis statement about this film is that Black Panther proves that in almost 20 films, Marvel still has another level to go in the future of the MCU, which is surprising because going into this last year, I would have thought we were starting to reach the saturation point. With Infinity War coming out, it was like, all right, that's going to be the back end. We're going to get those movies, and then this whole entire 12 to 15 years, that point, genre, and their studio and their franchise, it's got to kind of like do something else because I feel like the franchise fatigue was outrageous. This movie proves there is still so much space to grow. This is so different than anything they had ever done before.
Well, they just keep doing it.
Yeah.
They did it with Deadpool, they did it with Logan, they're doing it again with this, they did it with Guardians 2, because even Guardians 2 was like, how can you do the same thing again? And they did it again, but different. And Infinity War is like, I mean, I hope that I don't get our friend in trouble for saying this. Well, there's no way I would, but there's days that he would tell us, he'd be standing on set, and he would just look around and be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. And this
the
is a guy that
coolest
worked on Dunkirk, The Revenant, Iron Man, Bourne, like, he's
Jurassic
seen it all.
World.
Jurassic World.
Yeah.
He's seen it all.
Straight Outta Compton, Battleship.
And for him to be on for him to be on Infinity Wars and look around and be like,
Yeah.
I can't believe we're doing this.
Yeah.
It just makes me as a fan be like, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
So I completely agree, man. And I'm going to piggyback on that in saying that this movie has not only... So say yours one more time, because I want to use some of the same verbiage.
Yes, Black Panther proves that in the 10 years since the MCU was launched, it has still another level to go before this massive franchise wraps up.
Okay, well, maybe I don't want to use some of the same verbiage. But what I am saying is that this movie has propelled African Americans, Africans, colored people, and women to the next level in filmmaking. And the reason that I say that is is because there's been this weird stigma behind an all-female cast movie or an all African American or colored cast movie where it's like it's a black movie, it's a Tyler Perry movie, it's a Medea movie, or like Bad Moms, or like, you know what I mean, or Ghostbusters with women. It's like, fuck that.
Yeah.
It's just a good movie.
Yep.
Just because these people look a certain way or are of a different gender than what is the norm doesn't mean that it's not going to be as good of a movie.
The norm in movies, you mean?
The norm in movies, yes. And so for so long it's been, oh, it's this type of movie.
Right.
You know, this movie shows, first of all, Marvel, the biggest film entity in the entire universe, has created this movie that has put not only African Americans at the center of it, but it's made the strongest people in the entire film all women.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do it in a cheap way. It doesn't do it by pushing at these buttons that are cliche and like tugging on these strings, these heartstrings that we all are used to.
Yeah.
It's just done in like, I want to be them. I want to watch them.
It's fascinating to have gotten Black Panther and Wonder Woman both inside a year. Both inside a year in theaters. It's also refreshing. And that whole argument, like you and I have talked about this on the show endlessly, but like the understanding that Denzel Washington was not as big of a box office star as we thought he was, and this is because his films didn't make money overseas. And if Denzel Washington's films couldn't make money overseas, then what would the hope be that another black actor would necessarily be able to be a box office draw overseas? Because like he's Denzel. This movie is great proof that like that's a bunk theory. It's a ridiculous theory. Same with Wonder Woman, and it's amazing to be living in this time and so tuned into movies as this is happening, both inside 12 months. It really is the most kind of amazing thing to see this movie succeed. This is the 5th largest opening of all time. Marissa, you saw this already?
I have, yes.
What did you think?
I really enjoyed it. I think, you guys are going to get into the men would be nowhere without the women.
Right,
They
yeah.
definitely had the best memorable lines and moments. And I feel every time that Chadwick Boseman was on scene, it was stolen by his sister's character.
Yeah. Or
totally.
or
And
by
I think she was the
Nikita.
scene stealer.
Nakia.
I think the storyline was very predictable, though. So
Yeah, the storyline was very predictable, and I think I think we all kind of expected it. It's like he's going to win, he's going to lose, he's going to
Right,
come back.
yeah, it's the
you
Lion
know?
King.
Exactly, it's the Lion King. But
People keep saying it, but it's exactly what it is.
it is. But it's true. The women in this really steal from the scene, and they're all of color. It's a really brilliant thing. Like I've never wanted to be black so bad in my whole life. Like watching this movie. Like
Oh, that's actually another. I didn't also watch this thinking the exact same thing. That's not where I'm
did.
going. But what I was going to say is watching this film in a theater. I wasn't like a minority in the theater. I was one of like 5 white people in the theater. It was like a very, very fresh experience to be in a theater where it was a Marvel movie.
oh, because you were in New York.
Yeah,
yeah.
Every single time something would happen of significance, it was just like so much cheering.
There was
so
power.
power.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
It was super powerful.
It was amazing.
Yeah, same. And my audience was not
Yeah.
that demographic. Mine was LA, so everything, a lot of everything. But it was one of those movies when we all got done, people clapped, but it wasn't because it was just like, man, that was such a cool movie.
Yeah.
It was like we all walked away from it feeling like this, like we're holding our heads high for some reason.
Yeah, it was like
know?
you were like proud to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I love those thesis statements. I think they're both brilliant, and I love that this movie inspired such positive thesis statements.
Anybody in the chat have anything interesting to share on that subject? Did somebody write "evacuate the city"? I'm not going to do the accent. I'm just going to say it.
Evacuate the city. People are no. Most people are in here talking about Killmonger and his idea of what peace is. And
Right.
it's, you guys are getting into it. You
Right.
gotta calm down a little bit.
So, all right, let's continue moving through the show. Next up, we have fist pump moment. This is that moment in the movie something happens. You're kind of looking around. You're like, are you seeing this right now?
yes.
This is so cool. Oh, God, this is amazing. There were some really good fist pump moments in this movie. A lot of this movie was full of them.
Yeah, so in the theater that I went to AMC 7 in Santa Monica, where the chairs are all paired up. They're all they're leather reclining power chairs. They're awesome. But in every single row, the very last seat is a solo seat.
Yeah.
Usually bought by a dude going to watch a movie by himself. So he was sitting next to me and our buddy Jason.
Always mine.
Always my seat. That's my seat, C9. But he was this guy. It was funny because Jason's sitting next to me, diehard Phillies fan in a Philly, or I don't think he was wearing a Phillies shirt. Myself, and then next to me is a diehard Patriots fan in a Patriots sweater.
Yeah.
And I just remember sitting there, and the moment when Black Panther's fighting the Blue Army at the end. I can't remember what they're called, the Shield guys. And he goes and the shields are raising. He jumps over and he does this sonic boom and everyone just
Yeah, that was cool.
and he catches the spear and he throws it through the hover ship and blows up. And me and the dude next to us just go, oh,
Yeah.
oh. We both just made that sound. And we looked at each other and we were like, yes. And we just kept watching the movie. But it was just this, we couldn't help but make this guttural sound, the both of us. And it was just so awesome.
That's sick.
Yeah.
I gotta say mine has to be also in the final battle, and it's gotta be the Daniel Kaluuya, Denai Guerrera when he's like when he's like, "What are you doing?" And she looks at him.
Would you kill me, my love?
And he's like, "For Wakanda in a second or whatever."
Yeah. He's like, would you kill me, my love? She's like, for Wakanda?
Yeah.
In a second.
And then he puts his weapon down and kneels.
Yeah,
And that
because
was super, super cool.
Because she would destroy him.
She was like unbelievable. Like the other moment is definitely when they're in the casino and she like throws the wig and just starts just kicking ass.
Yeah, well, it's funny because the other one that I have is with her too, and it's when she's just like, "Fuck this, I'm bored." Gets on top of the car in the chase, and throws the vibranium spear into the ground, and then the car crashes into it and stops. Like, so sick, people.
Yeah, those were both great moments. The whole, and then in general, just in general, seeing what's his name, Andy Serkis show up, like he just was like so sweet. It was so nice to see Andy Serkis as Andy Serkis.
Yeah, that was we talked about it extensively. My other fist pump was that this is Andy Serkis's greatest role.
Yeah, just because like he's normally we see him all like crazy CGI'd out, like as Golem or like Caesar in the War of the Planet of the Apes, and like. He's just Andy Serkis, and he's a good actor, and he's great, and he's kind of weird, but like awesome. And I'm just so happy to see him.
Yeah, and him as Claw is amazing. He plays it perfectly. So I've got a few. Marissa, do you have a fist pump in this movie or no?
I do actually. It's not as actiony as you guys would like, but it's the moment when the sister, forgive me, I forget her
Shuri.
name. Yeah, she shows the actual Black Panther outfit to her brothers, the new upgrades. So and she's explaining all the technology. If you kick it in a certain space, it absorbs it, and then she tells him to do it again, and he just knocks him on his ass.
Yeah,
it just shows that like these women are so much can outsmart these men and still have fun.
Yeah, and she's like got her phone out. She's like, for research purposes. Yeah, it's amazing, amazing.
Yeah, she was. I think she's the best part of the movie. Yeah, I think she stole every scene she was in.
She is going to be a star.
Yeah,
she's amazing.
Time,
especially because at the end she goes and she like fights and she's like she shows this other side of her.
And she's
badass.
got the guns. You saw all the stuff about her being a Disney princess, right?
No.
People are like that moment when you realize that Shuri is a Disney princess.
Oh, I figured she was.
Yeah, no. This is a Disney movie. She's a princess.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
She's a Disney princess.
Yeah, she totally is. This is a Marvel. Yeah, that's amazing. All right, I got a couple things in here real quick. Paul Denuzzo, General, fist pump when Okoye backed T'Challa. Yeah, that's obviously a great moment. Solarge Knowles has been talking a lot, and he's got a great thesis here. This is the first comic book movie where the supporting cast all feel purposeful and important. Such an amazing ensemble cast. Black Panther wasn't the only focus, and I love that.
It's a great.
I feel like he was actually not even the main character in this movie.
He really didn't.
It was like a very balanced movie.
The only character that felt like a tertiary character was the token white guy.
Martin Freeman.
Yeah, which is so fucking funny that this movie had a token white guy.
He had a token white guy, and he just did dumb white shit throughout it. It was amazing.
Watching it was like, wow. I was like, is this what it's like?
This is exactly what it's like when you see the token black guy get killed in horror movies for the last 40 years.
I was like, wow, God, that would be so like awful.
Yeah. Yeah, I was so happy he wasn't a villain.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to be a villain based off the previews.
Yeah,
and he wasn't. So I was really happy about that.
Doesn't he show up in an earlier?
Wow.
What?
Fella Olut wrote Tolkien white guy.
Yeah.
Genius. You, my friend, you get some points for the day. All right, let us move on.
Yeah,
and get into star profiles.
Yeah. All right. So you got 2 stars in this movie who are at least the top billed stars, though. It's a star-studded cast.
Yeah.
Big time. So we'll start with Chadwick Boseman, Kazakh Bosman.
The challenge.
And he's had a really big few years. In the last few years, he has played James Brown in Get On Up. He's played Thurgood Marshall in Marshall. He's also played I'm forgetting one other historical figure. He played
Jackie Robinson?
Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall, and James Brown, all in the last 3 years. So been a hell of a few years for him. Then he shows up in Civil War as Black Panther and Message from the King in 2016, which I didn't see.
He's just so good at filling a role. And you and I talked about this on the way over on the phone, and it was like Michael B. Jordan outshines Chadwick Boseman in this movie because he almost stands out in a wrong way.
Yeah, right.
But he doesn't. Like, I think he does a great job, and it makes sense because it's the idea of the culture of growing up in the hood in wherever they are, Brooklyn, Chicago. I can't remember exactly.
I thought it was L.A.
Is it L.A.? Might be L.A.
I think it was Compton. No, am I wrong?
That would make sense. That would make sense. Anyway, and he stands out, whereas Chadwick does this amazing job of kind of disappearing into the role and just playing it, just like he does in 42 and in Marshall and in Civil War. So I don't know. It's interesting. Even though he's the lead character, I actually think that he's outshined by Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan's much flashier. I mean,
Oakland. It's in Oakland.
It's
Sorry
in
about
Oakland.
that.
That's what it is. Yeah. I mean, Michael B. Jordan's much flashier of a character. I think they both kind of serve a great purpose here.
Yeah.
I mean, what's interesting is that Michael B. Jordan is being positioned to be... He's being positioned to be the biggest star in the world in the next 5 years.
Yeah,
it was actually one of my...
really on his way up.
It's one of my thesis statements that I considered, because if you think about what this movie is going to mean from a marketing perspective, what it's going to mean is if you have a black actor as your star, there's a chance that this movie can hit a much, much wider demographic worldwide
Than it used to,
And
even 5 years ago.
And Denzel's in his 60s. So, like, I remember telling you on that podcast,
And Will
Michael
Smith
Jordan,
is kind of past his prime.
he just doesn't have, like, that cred, that hot cred, but guaranteed that you're going to see a movie with Michael B. Jordan and Will Smith together soon.
Oh, for sure.
So I do think that he's being positioned to be the next golden boy, like the hugest star in the world. Whereas Boseman, it's really a different... He's really a different beast. I mean, he's going to be a huge star. Obviously, there's going to be more of these movies. And so in that way, he might be bigger worldwide just because he is Black Panther and they're going to make these movies. But
yeah, it's interesting because, like, when I look at it, I think that he's like a very similar actor to Chris Evans when Chris Evans got injected into the Marvel Universe as well. And that's the fact that they both played the Human Torch in a horrible franchise. Yep. They both got completely revitalized in their career. Well, actually... Evans got completely revitalized in his career, and Michael B. Jordan got redeemed as a superhero. But for Chadwick, it's the same type of thing where they were both in movies and that you both saw him and you recognized who he was, and they do a very good job in those movies. But there's just something not. I don't know. I don't really know what it is, because you would think Chris Evans' star would have skyrocketed as well.
Yeah, then. And he was in Gifted last year, like
one of my favorites. He was in Snowpiercer.
Gifted was good, Snowpiercer was good, but those weren't big movies.
Right, where you look at someone, the other people in the world, and it's like some of them are doing better, some of them are doing worse, but it's like you'd think that this head guy would have something going on bigger. Yeah,
Boseman's career is fascinating, and he's hitting his moment right now. It will be interesting to see, a lot of what we're talking about is Boseman's career. What we're talking about is much more predictable. It's the fact that, like, a black actor usually has to play biopic historical figure, gangbanger. Like, it doesn't really, or like superhero character, like villain. You don't really get like a lot of black actors where it's like, this guy's going to lead this action franchise that has nothing to do with anything else. We just chose to cast this guy.
Yeah.
That's like not something you've seen a lot of. So I do wonder, it's like Michael B. Jordan's getting that treatment and Boseman's not. Whereas, because Michael B. Jordan's last few years, that awkward moment 2014, that's that movie with like Zac Efron, I think, and all those guys, right?
Yeah, and then he does the Fantastic Four in 2015, which is weird because that movie has so much young star power in it, and almost none of their careers were affected negatively.
It's really. Like, and I think it's like arguably of the modern era, the most hated superhero movie to hit theaters, right?
Yeah, ever. And then he does Creed in 2015, and then he takes a break.
Because he just went to go film 4 movies or something. You had Black Panther coming out later this year. You've got Creed 2 coming out. I think he's got a third one as well. So his next couple years are going to be crazy insane.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, he's gonna be the biggest thing in the world in 5 years, and especially with the work that he's put in and how well he's done in all the movies that have come out. So now we're going to talk about the real stars of this movie.
Yeah,
that's the women of Wakanda, ladies and gentlemen. That is Letitia Wright, who plays his sister Shuri, and then you got Denai Guerrera, Michonne from The Walking Dead, which I leaned over to Jessica. Oh my God, is that Michonne?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. And I was so happy for her
Yeah.
and Sterling K. Brown in this
Yep.
movie to see them
Totally.
like break through to that next level. It's so big. And then last but not least, Academy Award winner Lupita Nyong'o.
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 Nyong'o?
How do you say it?
Lupita Nyong'o?
Nyong'o?
There's a Y. Unless
an
I misspelled
apostrophe?
it and I'm screwing you up. What'd you say?
Yongo.
Yeah, Nyong'o. That's what I thought.
Who is amazing. I cannot ever get the image of Michael Fassbender and her out of my head
Yeah.
from 12 Years a Slave.
Right. It's like one of the
It
more
is like one of the
upsetting
most
movies.
brutal scenes I've ever seen. She is incredible. If you want to see a great actress, go watch 12 Years a Slave and then go watch Black Panther.
Yeah.
And watch what this woman can do.
Yeah, she's really talented. So
And also
let's-
Angela Bassett.
Yeah, let's start with Lupita Nyong'o.
Okay.
Lupita Nyong'o was basically an unknown. 12 Years a Slave was her. She had done some shorts at TV series, but nothing of any like real significance. Nobody really knew who she was, and she won the Oscar, the Best Supporting Actress Oscar for 12 Years a Slave in 2013. And they've been kind of trying to find a place to put her in a movie for the last few years. Maz Kanata in Star Wars, obviously, she shows up there as the voice.
Oh, she's the voice of Maz.
And that's
I actually did not know that.
That's notable, and
Obviously.
she's also the voice of the mother wolf in the Jungle Book. I'm trying to think what the character's name is. Do you know that, Marissa, offhand?
Mother Wolf.
Akila. Yeah, it might be Akila. She's great. But this is the first time that we've seen her on screen in a prominent position as her, not as like a voice.
Yeah, and I was wondering when she would reappear, when she would resurface on screen as herself, because again, she's amazing in 12 Years a Slave. She's beautiful. She's so talented.
She was in a film called Queen of Cutway, I think, like 2 years ago or a year ago. That she didn't really do much with David Oyelowo.
And the first time that I saw her on screen, a smile came across my face.
Yeah,
I legitimately was just like, yes.
Do you know what her backstory is?
No.
Her backstory is crazy. Her
Let's hear
backstory
it.
is that, like, I don't know that much of it, but her dad, I think, was a senator, and she attended Yale, like, drama school. She's like a genius, and she like comes from like a political family. She's like Ivy League, just like, and she like took a class. I think she like attended like the Yale drama program, and then she just like got cast in 12 Years a Slave because she was amazing. Now she must be like 27, 28 or something.
Unbelievable.
Just like comes from a family of just like very smart, very successful people.
Just hardworking, talented people.
Yeah, beautiful. So then you have Denai Guerrera, who is most notably Michonne. In 2012,
Michonne
she got Michonne in Walking Dead. Her last few years, she's definitely had a few others. She was in All Eyes on Me.
Yeah.
She's in Black Panther. She was in a third thing that I'm trying to remember what it was now. But yeah, I mean, Walking Dead is probably wrapping up in the next few years, I would have to think.
Yeah, and over the last few seasons, she's really kind of stepped into the limelight as basically the female lead of the show.
Yeah, you saw Lauren Cohen got cast as the lead in a new ABC series.
I didn't see that.
So Maggie will be in some capacity on that show for a bit longer. I have to think that 2 more seasons is probably what's predictable with that show.
She got and broke through at the exact perfect time.
Right. Yeah,
To
she
where it's
came
like
in.
Walking Dead is still relevant enough, and Black Panther is the most relevant thing in the world.
Yep.
And she is now broken through.
And she's like 37, I think. Maybe she might be like 39 or
Yeah.
40. She's like kind of right in there.
I'm happy for her. I think she's great. I've always thought she was great in The Walking Dead. I never thought that she did too much or too little. And seeing her in this movie, she is perfect for this role.
She's great. Yeah, I think
and
she's
her
got a
shaved head is fucking awesome.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I think she's got a great few years in front of her. So
And then honestly, for me,
Letitia Wright.
is she steals the movie.
I think
She
so,
steals
too.
the whole show. Her relationship with her brother is so earnest and genuine
Yeah.
and adorable, and she's an excited kid.
Her arm cannons.
Yeah, her
so
arm can't.
sweet.
Her driving the car, even running over someone. She's
Yeah.
like, "What was that?" You
Yeah.
know, and he's like, "You're doing a great job." She's amazing.
Yeah, I
Where did she
loved her.
come from?
She had been in a little bit of TV the last few years, but this is her first big breakthrough moment. She had been in like a few things. Like she had a pretty significant character, I believe, in Treme, which is David Simon's show that he followed up The Wire with. It's about the after effects of Hurricane Katrina and
Right.
like kind of what it looks like in the city as they're rebuilding. She was in things, unless it might be Denai Guerrero who was actually in Treme, but I think it was Letitia Wright. And she's just been in things for a few years, but again, like no movie role, no like significant TV show that you were like, oh, she was the star of that thing.
How old is she?
26 maybe.
Yeah, because she has that look where she could be 16 or like almost 30.
Yeah, I think she's like mid 20s.
So moving on into production development, this movie is super interesting because it was actually When Claw stole the vibranium from Wakanda in 1992 was actually when this movie started being talked about.
There was a whole entire a phase of development where Wesley Snipes was going to be Black Panther.
For almost 12 years, he fought all the way into 2005 or 6 when Kevin Feige finally was like, no, we're going to take this and make it its own entity without you eventually. We don't know when, we don't know where, but it's going to happen. But even then, Wesley Snipes still want to be brought on as like a producer or a director. As you can tell, he's not involved in any way whatsoever. But
he's not thrilled about.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He's sitting there watching
for
that.
30 years. He's been trying to get this movie made, which is funny because they talk about it. You know, for 30 years, you know, this man murdered my father for 30 years, vibranium for 30 years. It's very similar to this movie trying to be made.
Wesley Snipes' pain and suffering is similar. Just kidding. No. He just decided not to pay his taxes instead.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, this movie's been in production for a long time. I mean, you know, you guys probably all saw the article that popped up last week about how Sony was offered the opportunity to buy Marvel's entire canon of characters in 1998.
Are you talking about for the villain that they wanted to put in this movie?
No. In 1998, after Blade, before X-Men 1 came out, Marvel was bankrupt.
Right.
And in 1998, Sony was offered $25 million they said, Marvel said, we'll sell you the rights to every single one of our characters in perpetuity for $25 million. And they were like, Sony was like, nah, that's stupid. The only character that matters is Spider-Man. Just get Spider-Man and leave all the rest of that shit. And $25 million. Which at the time is defensible because like nobody had done anything with any of these characters. People had tried for years. They had made like failed movies. So it makes sense that they were like, Spider-Man's the only blue chip character. But when you look back now, you're like, well, how many other characters are waiting in the wings in Marvel's canon that they're going to be able to make?
Hundreds. Like essentially, like after what's happened with, I think, Guardians of the Galaxy and Deadpool, they've kind of been like,
yeah, and Deadpool's not even. I mean, Deadpool's Fox, and they managed to kill it with that.
Right. Well, that's my point, though, is that these are people that no one cared about.
Yeah.
No one ever. I never heard of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
You know, growing up. So, this movie was directed by Ryan Coogler, who has worked on every single film that every single one of his films Michael B. Jordan has been in.
He's starred
in, and it was interesting because this was originally supposed to be directed by Ava DuVernay.
Yeah, she's the other hot name right now in African American directors.
Who decided to do, I don't know if she decided to do A Wrinkle in Time instead, but she is doing A Wrinkle in Time, and it's coming out this year. The other guy was F. Gary Gray. I don't know if you guys know him. He directed a little movie called Straight Outta Compton.
Yep.
Which everything works out. Everything happens for a reason. So Ryan Coogler ends up getting this movie, and I think that he crushes it.
Totally.
Him and Michael B. Jordan, they just work together. Chadwick Boseman never auditioned for this part.
Yeah.
He was just kind of in discussion with, was it Feige he was talking to? I can't remember who he was talking. Might have been Coogler.
Yeah.
But someone he was talking to, and just the idea of how he wanted to portray this character and where he wanted to take him, they were like, cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to change your life?
Yeah.
Here's the biggest role of ever.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Way to go.
So Coogler is a director.
Good decision, Boseman.
Yeah. Coogler is a writer-director. His first film was Fruitvale Station, which won, you know, it was critically acclaimed. You and I talked about it a good amount on the way over here. It won or got one of the big awards at Sundance that year.
Yep, it's really good.
He co-wrote and directed Creed, as we all know. He's got Black Panther. He is one of those guys that it seems, and our good friend here, Jonathan Gilligan, asked on Instagram, or on MySpace, on Twitter, he said, with 3 well-loved movies together, Fruitvale Station, Creed, and now Black Panther, would you consider Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler the next big actor-director combo? Thank you, Jonathan Gilligan. That's at bassist_1996.
I think the answer to that question has to be yes. Only because
how could it not be?
Only because, like, first of all, you don't really very often see a run to start a director's career like this. Like, that would have been something maybe interesting to put some time into before this show to really do the research. Like, what are the greatest 1, 2, 3 starts ever for a director?
Yeah.
Because it's not very common. I mean, Fruitvale Station was like a critical darling, but it still starred somebody who was like a real up and comer. People really like Michael B. Jordan. It's not like he was starring that movie. People were like, oh, who is this guy? It's like he had already been Vince in 3 seasons of Friday Night Lights. He had already been Wallace in The Wire.
Yeah.
He was already a pretty known quantity. He had been in movies for a long time, and people liked Michael B. Jordan. So when that movie came out, it was like, I think I recognize this kid. A lot of people love Friday Night Lights, and that was just the beginning. Then obviously the follow-up to that being Creed is pretty massive.
Yeah, I mean, it's about as big of a step as you can take, like in the sense of like a critically acclaimed movie that people adore, that you're the lead of.
Yeah.
You know, because the other movies he did, whatever, you know, I mean...
No, I mean for Coogler, though. Like in
Oh,
terms
for
of-
Coogler.
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
For it to be Coogler's second film is like a pretty massive step. And then obviously it's your third film is the 5th highest opening in the history of movies. That's a pretty good step, too. So the fact that that's the sort of dream team duo, you've got to think the next movie made by Ryan Coogler starring Michael B. Jordan probably won't be Black Panther 2. They'll probably do... Well, it's not, because it's Creed 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's Creed 2. And so... but I think what you're trying to say is like a new franchise or a separate entity with the two of them at the helm is going to be incredible.
Yeah, huge. And I mean, we talked about it a little bit, sort of like Scorsese and Leo, Scorsese and De Niro. You know, you definitely have these directors that really like to use the same guy over and over again. And I do have to think that this will be the duo. This will be one of the big, huge duos to watch. Maybe the premier one to watch.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that was a great question, Jonathan. Appreciate it.
Thanks for writing in.
Other interesting people in this movie. So it was written by Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert Cole. Joe Robert Cole he's basically a nobody.
Yep.
He wrote and directed. It was his writing and his directorial debut, a movie called Amber Lake. Know nothing about it. It's a short film.
Okay.
And then he went on to write 2 episodes of American Crime Story, which, guys, this Monday. Today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
2 days ago, I went to go see Black Panther, and it was right before I went and watched Black Panther. I watched the most recent episode of This Is Us, which obviously has Sterling K. Brown. Then I went and watched Black Panther, which obviously has Sterling K. Brown. And then I went home and couldn't figure out anything to do, and I watched American Crime Story: The People vs. OJ, which obviously has Sterling K. Brown in it.
Yeah.
This guy is killing it. Yeah. And Joe Robert Cole actually wrote 2 of the best episodes of The People vs. OJ. That's it. That's all this guy's done. He's written...
Yeah.
He wrote Amber Lake, 2 episodes of that show, and Black Panther. And now he's got 2 movies in production with the same writing team. There's about 6 of them. One's titled ROM. The other is called Visionaries Knights of a Magical Light. And there's nothing out about either of them.
Interesting.
Yeah, so obviously Coogler's crushing it as a writer, and hopefully Joe Robert Cole will as well, because honestly, those 2 episodes that he wrote were
just great.
Insane.
I only watched 7 or 8 of the episodes of that show, so I don't know if I saw them.
I watched the whole thing in 12 hours. Like, I just cruised through it.
Yeah,
with sleep, a little bit of sleep in the middle. This movie was produced by Kevin Feige. I mean, if you want, you can say things about him. He's the biggest producer in the world right now. He's the guy that single-handedly brought Marvel back to life by that deal that you talked about.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, I think, on the Winter Soldier episode. But basically, like, there was a whole deal in like mid 2000s before the release of Iron Man, where Feige was like a production assistant, and then he became a larger assistant, an associate producer, and he just loved comic books, and he just was like, you know, I want this thing to exist as this extended universe, and I think we can do it the right way. And so a lot of the early stuff you'll see even before the MCU, like the one story that he tells in that Vanity Fair article is, you know, about Wolverine, where he's like, I was on set in the first one, and I was like, no, his hair doesn't spike up high enough. You got to make his hair spike up more. That's what it looked like in the comic books.
Right.
Which is why his hair looks kind of the way that it does in the first movie. And
which is kind of ridiculous.
yeah, it does look a little ridiculous. And so he just talks a lot about that stuff. But that's a great article to go look at. And it's been an interesting 10 years. I mean, he is the guy who's been single-handedly behind making all of this happen, and it's an unprecedented level of success. It's hard to think about Marvel as a franchise, because it's existed as so much more than a single franchise. But at the end of the day, it really is one franchise still. There's only a couple movies I can think of in the entire scope of it that feel like they are outside of it. You know, The Incredible Hulk being one of them. I guess maybe you would say that, like, the Thor movies a little bit, like the second Thor movie, this feels like it's pretty out of continuity. It like doesn't really have anything. You know, there's a couple characters like Natalie Portman that just don't show up in any of their movies. But aside from that, it is like one giant franchise.
Yeah, it really is. It's one gigantic world.
But what's fascinating about it is that this movie doesn't have any of that. Aside from one hidden scene at the end of the movie, this movie doesn't have Robert Downey Jr. show up. This movie doesn't have a scene with Maria Hill.
That's how I felt about like Deadpool and Logan as well. Is like, you don't need all that other shit. You can have it.
Yeah.
It's good, but it takes away, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit. I was sitting there with Jay before the movie.
Jason Sparich, you can watch on the Predator episode from a few years ago. Don't say it.
Don't say it. Watching this, I was like, because in the previews there was Solo, Wrinkle in Time, Infinity Wars, this movie. Disney's going to make almost $10 billion this movie just off ticket sales, in my mind.
Off of this
maybe
movie?
$6 billion. No, off of ticket sales in 2018.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be crazy. You didn't talk about the fact that you got to watch the MI6 trailer in a theater, right?
Oh my god! I wanted to tell you when the trailer here was going. I was so amped.
Yeah, oh my
I
God.
was so amped.
Yeah. It's the first time I got to see it in a theater. I was like so pumped. It ended, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I can probably leave now, right?
I know they're not MCU movies, guys. They're Disney films.
Yeah.
They're Disney films.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do with the Marvel Universe. Disney owns Marvel.
Yeah.
Disney's going to make the money. Just had to clear that up for you. Moving on to critical and box office reception. This movie was released by Buena Vista. Cost $200 million to make. It was released the 16th of February, 2018. It grossed $235 million, an additional $184 million for a grand total of $419, and for a massive opening weekend of $201 million. Good.
Yeah.
You know, there was all that bullshit before this was coming out about people boycotting the movie.
So
and
dumb.
and like giving it bad reviews.
It got like it was on track to make 125, 135, and it made almost $100 million over projection. Like, that's unprecedented. That's like nothing we've ever seen before. That like doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's insane. And what I really want to talk about is the critical reception, because I think it's really interesting. So it's got a 7.9 on IMDb, which is interesting to me. It's low. It's really, really low.
Relative to the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Well, also relative to what these types of movies do when they come out.
Yeah.
You know, like when Wonder Woman came out, it was like the 70th best movie of all time or something, like
Right.
immediately, you know? And like usually with movies like this, they usually propel themselves into the mid hundreds of the top 250 and
Is
then
Black
fall
Panther
off.
not in there?
It's not in there, I don't think. It's got a 7.9, so it can't be.
Crazy.
Right? Don't you? Right?
I don't think it is one of the top 250, but some of the
But
movies
it
that
feels
are
like
in
it
the top
has to be.
250, like always.
Yeah. So Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 97% by all critics, 100% by top critics, and a 77% by the audience. That 100% gives it the #1 movie of all time on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, the best reviewed movie ever. This is not the best movie of all time.
It is the best reviewed movie of all time, however, and that conversation is different.
Yeah.
If you got 100 people in a room and they all watch Black Panther and they all walk out and you go yes or no,
And they say, I'll say yes.
they all should say yes. You know, there's not enough in here to say a no, I don't think, unless
No.
you're just being a hater. So
Totally.
it's really weird, but I get it.
Yeah.
Right?
I think like there was a question that got asked a few different times from a few different people. I know, Paul, you asked a question that was effectively, in so many words, is this overrated? I think there was maybe Jonas on the page. There was a few people asked the question, is this movie a victim of overhype? And it's funny because like there's not a great answer that we really have other than...
Because I actually wanted to bring that question on the show because I thought it was a really interesting point. And after we talked about it more, it really is a hard conversation.
Right.
I think this movie did suffer from being overhyped, and I still thought it was incredible.
Yeah, it's just difficult to go see movies when... And the thing that sucks is that it was already a little overhyped when I saw it on Thursday.
Yeah.
You didn't see it until, I think, Monday?
Until Monday, after I'd heard about it breaking all the records. I'd seen all the posts. I'd seen like people crying outside theaters. And
yeah.
And my buddy Jack asked me yesterday, he goes, because me and my friend in my improv team, we both seen the movie, and he's like, what'd you guys think? And Leah and I were both like, oh, we loved it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, it's not going to be as good as you want it to be, but it's still going to be incredible.
I was at the theater in New York, and like I told you, I was definitely the minority there, and I was like by myself. I had just gotten there, and I wanted to take a picture by the like big Black Panther standout, like the cut up. And there was like all these people taking pictures, and I was this white guy by myself. I was like, "Can you guys take a picture of me in front of this?" I was pretty embarrassed.
You did it though, right?
I did it.
That's amazing. Did you throw up a? Don't do that.
I didn't do anything. I didn't.
Peace, guys. Wakanda forever.
Throw this guy out the window.
All right. So our next segment we're moving on to is favorite line.
Oh, no, we did have one other question we wanted to answer.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, one last AMA question. It was Jacob Silver asked us on the Facebook group. He says, since Killmonger, this is a spoiler, but if you're watching this, you're spoiled. Yeah,
still
since
watching.
Killmonger technically wins, what are your favorite action flicks where the antagonist prevails? He does win at one point in the movie. He technically loses because he dies.
Yeah.
But
That's a good way to lose.
yeah, but that is going to cue us into It's a Bad, Bad World. Favorite villains that outshone the heroes.
Yeah.
They didn't necessarily win in the movie, but they won in our hearts. So why don't we just rattle off 4 or 5 each that we loved?
I mean, I think one of the number one most classic for us.
It's got to be Heath.
It's got to be Heath Ledger and General Hummel.
Yeah, and Hummel.
Hummel, but Heath is more of a steals this show. I mean, he
steals the
steals
show.
from Batman.
How can you
know?
not love him? I'm going to throw in a good honorable mention here. It's not an honorable mention, it's one of my 5 favorites. Mugatu.
Mugatu, yes, dude. Mugatu. Well, on that path, Dieter von Kuntz.
Yeah, Dieter's
in MacGruber,
amazing.
He's
Yeah,
amazing.
He's great.
Another one of my absolute favorites is Javier in
in
No Country.
No Country. He's great.
That every scene is just
he crushes
stolen.
it.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and say that Lord Voldemort in the Harry Potter franchise.
I've seen one of those
I
movies.
love Ralph Fiennes in this character. I think sometimes about how scary he looks without the nose and just being Harry Potter.
Yeah, he's creepy as hell.
Super, super creepy.
Trailers.
Yeah.
From what I've seen.
Have you watched any, or are you,
I've
when
literally
you say you've
only
watched
watched
one,
the first
that
one.
sounds like the excuse. Like you've really seen it one. You're not just
Only,
making it up.
so what happened was like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, my niece finally
Okay.
heard that I'd never watched any of them. She made me sit down to watch the first one.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Can't do the other accent, so I'll just do that one.
I'm gonna do Harry Potter. Harry Potter. I'm gonna 7.
Oh yeah,
I
Spacey.
mean, what's in the box?
Yes.
The fact that is one of the true definitions of the bad guy winning at the end of the movie and getting everything he wants.
He gets everything. Yeah. I think any others that I really, really enjoy. Other maybe Dr. Evil. Dr. Evil's pretty terrific. It's another good comedy villain that I love.
I love that you just we get these comedy villains are great.
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah,
one of the absolute greats because he's not really the true villain. And then I have 2 more that I know you love.
Okay, yeah.
And it's interesting because it's like Matchstick Men.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because he's like not really he's like the bad guy but not, and he gets ripped off at the end by his fake daughter and all that.
Right.
The other one that I think is really interesting is Memento. You're rooting for the same person the whole time.
movie.
You just find out that he's the bad guy at the end. Of it,
Yeah.
which I think
sweet.
is so good.
For sure. Non sequitur, unrelated. I watched Prisoners again last night for the first time, and since I'd seen it the first time,
So good.
I saw it on the airplane last night because I was just like, I just feel like watching this. That movie is so good. It's ridiculous.
so good.
Speaking of creepy villains, God, Melissa Leo and the kid and Paul Dano, both of them are just terrifyingly creepy.
Paul Dano's not actually a bad guy though, is he?
No, but you think he's the bad guy for most of the
He's
movie.
just a creep.
He's just a creep.
creepy kid.
Well, then he's a kid that was abducted, so it's not actually.
It's just you understand why.
Jackman is unbelievably incredible in that movie.
Yeah, he is.
Fucking Gyllenhaal's amazing in that movie too.
Other ones. Oh, Nightcrawler's one.
Yeah, he's great.
Nicholson in Batman.
Yeah.
Loki and Thor.
Yep.
Fuck. Excuse me. I don't know why I just said excuse me, but it just felt inappropriate. Kate Blanchett in Thor.
Yeah, hella. All right, so we're going to move on from It's a Bad, Bad World. We're going to get into the favorite line, which is our last bit we're going to do before we pitch you next week's film.
The Prestige.
I love The Prestige.
Stealing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just got to go for it. I got to just take it.
It's the best line. I mean, I don't know how could you actually answer without saying this line, right?
Yeah. Wakanda forever.
Oh,
No,
that's
I'm joking. It's the Michael B. Jordan line.
Yeah, at the end, just throw me in the bury me in the ocean.
Bury me in the ocean with my ancestors because they knew that death was better than bondage.
Living in bondage.
Yeah, it's
such a powerful ending to a movie when like you think about what you've just watched and you're like, oh yeah, what a strong movie. And you're like, Marvel, black everything, black culture representation, and then it's like he makes he says this line, you're like, wow,
and it's
sick, drops the bomb, and you're like, whoa, this movie was so much more impactful than I even realized.
And all the social things they speak on throughout the movie about like it's like Njobu's. I'm with him. If you're sitting there and you're watching your brothers and sisters die all around the world, when you know that you have the power to save them, like, wouldn't you want to do something about it? It's
and
just
it like sets up the conflict later in the story, and it's like, and the stuff.
I think honestly, this movie suffered from overhype just because if you go back and you watch this movie, which we all will in a few months when it comes out on DVD, and I bet you it'll be so much better.
Yeah.
I bet you it will.
This movie's, yeah, I mean, we didn't have the conversation about how high on the MCU list it is, because I think it'll be better to revisit that a few months from now.
Yeah, the other two that we have are Hey Auntie, which is a good one.
Yeah.
And Do You Think Your Ancestors Paid a Fair Price, which is also a very good one. And then I had one more that I'd written down. I think I wrote it down. Shit. It's when Michael B. Jordan's dying, and he's like, imagine that, just a stupid kid believing in a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Like while he's dying.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments where you're like, this is why Michael B. is going to be one of the biggest people in the world.
Yeah, he was
So
great.
those are our favorite lines, guys. We would love to talk about yours, but we just don't have much time.
Yeah, we only have, I mean, there's the conversation, totally ridiculous, totally legit, ridiculous with legit. I think we can just agree.
This movie's totally legitimate.
Totally legit.
Yeah,
there's like nothing about it that's really funny at all.
no, other than the moments that are supposed to be funny.
Yeah, so I think we agree there. We only have one last thing left to talk about, and that's going to be the pitch. Better every time.
I am getting good at that.
We're doing Annihilation next week. Thank God. The reviews came out this morning, and
It's good?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
It's weird, but it's good.
We were worried it was going to be bad. 'Cause
Yeah.
There's something about the embargo, right?
Yeah, the embargo didn't lift till 6 this morning. So, but I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about it. I will be seeing it probably tonight, maybe.
I'm pretty jealous.
Yeah.
It comes out tomorrow.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I might have to actually see it tomorrow. Now that I think about it. Anyway, we'll deal with that later. But I am very excited.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. We can't wait to talk about that. Great cast, great people. Andrew's doppelganger is in the film.
He is. And also, speaking of Andrews, we have a new general in the Army. We've talked about it. We will be doing Quigley Down Under on the show
Soon.
sometime in the next month.
Yes.
We've got a lot of new releases coming out, I believe, since we are going to be around. We're going to do Annihilation and then Red Sparrow, and then I think there's one more, and then we might do Quigley, but we'll keep you guys posted. But we do thank you, Mr. General.
Thank
We
you,
salute
sir.
you.
Thank you. We'll be shouting out some others. Go check out the patreon.com/teamaction. You can see there's a brand new video going up today talking about some of your top 5 lists that you guys have sent in, fans of this show have put together. Follow us on Twitter. You can find me at Ben Bateman Media.
You guys can find me at Andrew Ghai, and you can find the podcast at AMA Podcast.
And stay tuned for Nerds and Suits, guys. I got a brand new Anchor station launching that's going to be Anchor.fm. Download the app. It's free. Find it. It's going to be movie reviews and news every single week, and I'll be your new movie critic. So
Congratulations, brother.
There's your thing. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.
Cavill looks